I stood at the altar on my wedding day, about to read my vows. But first, I had something to say to my father, who was sitting in the front row with his new family. Dad, before I marry the man who will never abandon me, I want everyone to know what you did when Mom died. How you erased me, how you replaced me, how you replaced me, and how you're not walking me down the aisle me uncle is. Hi, I'm Sophie, and this is a story of how my father chose his new wife and her children over me after my mom died, and how I made sure everyone knew the truth on the day he thought he'd finally get to play proud father. If you love stories where neglectful parents face consequences and the truth comes out at the worst possible moment, you're in the right place. Like, share, and subscribe to Revenge Stories X, because this revenge was 4 years in the making and it was worth every second. Let me take you back to when I was 16, when my world fell apart and my father decided I was too much trouble to deal with. My childhood was happy. Mom, Dad, and me, we were close. Family game nights, camping trips, inside jokes. Dad called me his sunshine girl. He coached my soccer team, scared away my first boyfriend, promised he'd walk me down the aisle someday. Mom was my best friend. We were a team. I never imagined it could all disappear in one night. Mom died when I was 16. Drunk driver, head-on collision, she didn't suffer. That's what they told me. But I suffered. God, I suffered. I fell apart completely, stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped caring about anything. Dad fell apart too. For 6 months, we grieved together. We were all each other had left. I thought that would never change. 10 months after Mom died, Dad met Linda at a grief support group. She was a widow with 3 kids, 2 daughters, ages 12 and 14, and a son aged 10. Dad started seeing her. I was happy for him at first. He seemed lighter, less haunted. I wanted him to be okay. I didn't realize being okay meant forgetting Mom. Forgetting me. They got engaged after 4 months. I was 17, still grieving Mom, and suddenly there was a new woman wearing a ring, calling herself my bonus mom. Dad asked if I was okay with it. I said yes because I wanted him happy. He hugged me and said, "You're so mature, Sophie. Mom would be proud." That was the last time he really saw me. Linda and her kids moved in 2 months before the wedding. Suddenly, our quiet house was chaos. Her daughters took over my bathroom, my space, everything. Her son was loud and broke my things. Linda redecorated, erasing Mom's touches. Photos of Mom came down, replaced with Linda's family pictures. Photos of Mom came down, replaced with Linda's family pictures. I felt like a ghost in my own home. When I complained, Dad said I was being selfish. They're your family now. Dad and Linda got married when I was 18. It was big, expensive, beautiful. I was a bridesmaid, but Linda's daughters were maids of honor. In his speech, Dad talked about his 4 amazing kids and his second chance at happiness. He barely mentioned Mom, didn't mention me specifically at all. I stood there in my bridesmaid dress, invisible, while everyone celebrated his new family. I should have known then what was coming. I'd been planning to go to college out of state, Mom, and I had visited campuses together before she died. But suddenly Dad said we couldn't afford it. "With Linda's kids to think about now, we need to be practical," he said. I'd have to go to community college and live at home. But 6 months later, Linda's oldest daughter got a brand new car for her 16th birthday. A car that cost more than a year of tuition. My 19th birthday, Dad forgot completely. He and Linda took her kids to Disneyland that weekend, planned for months, apparently. I wasn't invited because you're too old for Disney. I spent my birthday alone in an empty house. When they got back, Dad said, "Sorry, sweetie," and handed me a gift card. Linda's daughter got a surprise party with 50 guests 2 weeks later. I wasn't invited to that either. 6 months later, I got into a car accident. Not serious, but I was shaken up, crying. I called Dad. He said he was at Linda's son's baseball game and couldn't leave. It's the championship. He sent Linda's sister to pick me up. A stranger. When I got home hours later, Dad was celebrating the win. "Why didn't you just call an Uber?" he asked. I realized then I wasn't his daughter anymore. I was an inconvenience. I moved in with my Aunt Sarah, Mom's sister, 2 weeks later. Dad didn't try to stop me. Linda actually looked relieved. As I packed, I heard her tell Dad, "This is better. Now the kids can spread out more." I took only what was mine and left. Dad texted me once, "Let me know if you need anything." I never responded. That was 4 years ago. For 4 years, I barely heard from Dad. Occasional texts on holidays. He never visited. Never called just to check in. Meanwhile, I saw on Facebook because Linda posted constantly that he was super dad to her kids, coached the son's team, took the daughters to father-daughter dances, posted proud parent stuff constantly. He had replaced me completely. I grieved him like I'd grieved Mom, because the father I knew was dead. I met James when I was 21. He was kind, stable, present, everything Dad wasn't. He knew my story, knew I had family trauma. He never pushed me to reconnect with Dad. When James proposed at 23, I said yes. We started planning a small wedding. Then James asked the question I'd been dreading. Are you going to invite your dad? I didn't want Dad there. He hadn't been my father in 4 years, but everyone, James's family, my aunt, even some friends said I'd regret not inviting him. He's still your father. He'll want to walk you down the aisle. You'll regret it later. So against my gut, I sent an invitation. Part of me hoped he'd decline. He didn't. He RSVP'd yes for him, Linda, and all 3 of her kids. Like they were a package deal. Dad called me for the first time in months. He assumed he'd be walking me down the aisle, giving a father of the bride speech, doing the father-daughter dance. He talked about tuxedo rentals and speech ideas. I listened silently. When he finally asked if I was okay with all this, I said, I'll let you know. He didn't notice my tone. He never noticed anything about me anymore. I had a breakdown after that call. 4 years of abandonment, and Dad just assumed he'd get the honor of walking me down the aisle, like he'd been there, like he'd earned it. James held me while I cried. Then my Aunt Sarah said something that changed everything. Sophie, this is your wedding. If you want to tell him the truth, this is your chance. With witnesses, so he can't rewrite history. This is your chance. With witnesses, so he can't rewrite history. I decided Dad could come to the wedding, but he wouldn't walk me down the aisle. He wouldn't give a speech. And before I said my vows, I would tell everyone exactly who my father was, what he'd done, how he'd abandoned me. I'd make it public, make it real, make it impossible for him to deny. This was my day, my truth, my moment. I asked my uncle Mike, Mom's brother, to walk me down the aisle. He cried and said yes immediately. Your mom would be so proud of you, he said. I felt lighter. My uncle had been more of a father to me in 4 years than Dad had been. He'd helped with college applications, came to my community college graduation, checked on me weekly. He deserved the honor. Dad deserves the truth. I wrote everything down. Every moment Dad chose Linda's kids over me. Every birthday forgotten, every call ignored, every time I was erased. I practiced in front of James, my aunt, my bridesmaids. They all cried. Are you sure you want to do this? James asked. I was sure. This wasn't revenge. This was accountability. This was my closure. Wedding day arrived. I looked beautiful in my dress. Mom would have loved it. My bridesmaids surrounded me, hyping me up. My aunt helped with my makeup and whispered, "Your mom is with you today." I felt her presence. I felt strong. In a few hours, I'd marry an amazing man, and before that, I'd free myself from my father's abandonment once and for all. Dad showed up with Linda and her kids. He was in a tuxedo, boutonniere pinned, looking proud. He tried to hug me before the ceremony. "You look beautiful, Sunshine," he said. Sunshine? He hadn't called me that in 4 years. I stepped back. "You should sit down. Ceremony's starting soon." His face fell, but he went to his seat. Linda's daughters were taking selfies. Her son was playing on his phone. They didn't want to be there. The ceremony began. Linda's kids walked down the aisle as guests. Then my bridesmaids, then the music changed my cue. I took Uncle Mike's arm. Saw Dad's face in the front row, confusion, hurt. He realized he wasn't walking me down. Linda touched his arm. He looked devastated. Good. Now he knew how I felt every single day for 4 years. We walked past him. I didn't look at him. Uncle Mike squeezed my hand. I reached the altar. James smiled at me, so much love in his eyes. The officiant began. But before we got to vows, I asked if I could say something. James knew this was coming, we'd planned it. The officiant nodded. I turned to face the guests. 150 people, all eyes on me. Dad looked confused. I took a breath. This was it. Before James and I exchange vows, I need to address something, I began. My father is sitting in the front row, probably wondering why he didn't walk me down the aisle. I want everyone to know why. Dad's face went white. 4 years ago, I moved out of his house because he chose his new wife and her children over me. After my mom died, gasps rippled through the crowd. Dad remarried 10 months after Mom died. I tried to be supportive, but slowly, I was erased. My college fund went to my stepsister's car. My birthday was forgotten because of a baseball game. When I was in a car accident and called him scared and crying, he sent a stranger to get me because he couldn't miss a game. I moved in with my aunt because I was invisible in his home. I'd prepared something special. My maid of honor handed me an iPad. I made a slideshow, I said. I'd played it on the venue's screen. Photos of Dad and me before Mom died camping, soccer games, hugging, laughing. Then photos from the last 4 years, Dad at Linda's kids' events, posing with them, being super dad. 0 photos with me. 4 years. Not one visit, not one call just to check on me, but dozens of posts about being a proud father to someone else's children. For 4 years, I grieved my father like I grieved my mother, because the dad I knew died when Mom did. The man sitting here is a stranger who abandoned his grieving daughter because she was too sad, too broken, too much work. So no, he didn't walk me down the aisle. My Uncle Mike did the man who actually showed up for me, and now I'm asking my father to leave. This is a celebration of love and family. You've proven you're neither to me. The venue was silent, 150 people staring at Dad. Some were crying. Dad's face was red, tears streaming. Linda looked furious. "Sophie, please," Dad started. "Leave," I repeated. Uncle Mike and James's dad stood up, ready to escort them out. Dad stood slowly. Linda grabbed her kids. As they walked out, several guests, people who knew our family before Mom died, wouldn't look at them. They knew I was telling the truth. After they left, I turned back to James. "Sorry," I whispered. He shook his head. "Don't apologize. I'm proud of you." We continued the ceremony. I married the love of my life, surrounded by people who actually loved me. The reception was beautiful. Uncle Mike gave the father of the bride speech and had everyone laughing and crying. It was perfect. The wedding I deserved with the family I chose. The next day, my phone exploded. Dad called 20 times, sent long texts. "You humiliated me. How could you? I tried my best." Not once did he say, "I'm sorry." Not once did he take accountability. Linda left angry voicemails calling me ungrateful and cruel. Her kids apparently were upset by the drama. I blocked all of them. I was done. But other people reached out. Dad's brother, my uncle, called. "Sophie, I had no idea it was that bad. Your dad always said you were just going through a phase. I'm so sorry. You were right to call him out." Other family members said similar things. Apparently, Dad had been telling everyone I was just sensitive and pulling away. He'd been lying, rewriting the narrative. My speech exposed the truth. 3 weeks later, Dad showed up in my apartment. Without Linda, he looked awful. "Can we talk?" he asked. I let him in. He said he'd been thinking about everything I said, that he realized he'd failed me, that Linda had made him feel guilty for grieving Mom, for spending time with me, that he'd gotten caught up in being a family man again and forgot he already had a daughter. It sounded like an apology, but it wasn't enough. I told Dad the truth. You didn't just forget me. You chose to erase me. You chose Linda's kids' comfort over your own daughter's grief. You chose convenience over your child. And you only care now because I embarrassed you publicly. Where were you 4 years ago? Where were you on my birthdays, my graduation, my engagement? You don't get to show up now because you look bad. Dad cried, said he wanted to rebuild. I said maybe someday, but not now. You need therapy. You need to figure out why you abandoned me. And you need to divorce yourself from the idea that showing up at my wedding entitled you to anything. If you want a relationship with me, you have to earn it. No more assumptions. No more shortcuts. And Linda's kids are never my family. It's been 6 months since my wedding. Dad and I have had coffee 3 times. He's in therapy. He's apologized more genuinely. He's asked about my life without expecting me to make him feel better. It's progress. Slow, painful progress. I don't know if we'll ever be close again, but I set my boundary. I told my truth. I freed myself from his narrative. That's what matters. James and I are happy. My Aunt Sarah is like a second mom. Uncle Mike is the father figure I needed. I have my chosen family, and I'm healing. The wedding speech wasn't about hurting Dad. It was about refusing to pretend anymore. About refusing to let him play proud father when he'd abandoned that role years ago. Some people called me cruel, but they don't understand what it's like to be erased by a parent, to be replaced, to be forgotten. My father thought he could abandon me for 4 years and still get the honor of walking me down the aisle. He thought he could erase me from his life, replace me with his new wife's kids, and face no consequences. He was wrong. Sometimes the only way to heal from family trauma is to stop protecting the people who hurt you and start telling the truth. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and share it with anyone who's been replaced or forgotten by a parent. Subscribe to Revenge Stories X for more stories of people who refuse to stay silent. My name is Sophie, and remember, you don't owe anyone a relationship just because they're family, especially when they stopped being family to you years ago.